Chris, we call this committee meeting to order, building committee, November 2024.
We have a quorum with Mr. Stefano, Mr. Miller, Mr. Hughes, and Bishop. Thank everybody for coming.
Yes, very much so. Proper notice?
Notice posted according to statutory requirements on October 31st.
Minutes. Is there a chance to read the minutes? Discussion, any corrections? We cut them. I hear a motion, please.
I make the motion.
Second. Anybody opposed to them? Nope. Okay, so approved. Flat painting project status.
Okay, there's obviously some issues to deal with. As you know, excuse me. I'm sorry. The original contractor, Lee Rapasi, had some issues with the installation that caused some delays to the project. Mainly it was the, I guess the solvent, or not the solvent, but the glue used to attach the siding boards to the existing wall. That the heat seemed to have affected and dripped down. We found in his absence, because he was away for a long period of time on a trip, that the only way to remedy was take off. I think it was 612. Yeah, I guess it's been 612. All the siding boards on the upper side, and because they had not only put the materials down low to make that, they went all the way up, and that was like a $1,200 repair. I had meetings scheduled with Lee for this meeting, and unfortunately, with the family issues that I've had, I had to cancel. I only met with Lee last Friday, and so I've given him addresses to review and come back and give me a proposal. And in fairness to him, even though he's been gone a long time, he just got the various addresses that I gave him. So we know we have issues out there. We have issues where we took off materials such as carpeting, tile, and polypedal, and it's caused some unevenness. And I think Mark's here to talk about that. And they're all to be addressed, but unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit longer before we get a full report of what's going on. We have to continue. There may be even thoughts to, once we've sealed the product, the flooring, which is the main thing why we were painting, to make sure that there's anything in the future wouldn't go through, excuse me, any cracks. We might want to let people consider putting some kind of material back up on there, as long as we have the sealant down, to bring the thing up to level for walking into the door jamb and the scuppers. So I mean, so I think we ought to look at that a little bit more in depth before we make any decisions, but that's up to you all.
Yeah, I think the people who maybe want to put something back up there, we leave the scupper where it is and let them put it now that they're all painted and sealed. That was the main thing. We didn't want the water migrating through to the infrastructure underneath and ruining it again after we just paid a lot of money to go up under and fix all those. So,
it would be nice if there were rules and regulations for doing that, so that there's painting it, that's fine, putting pebble on it, that's fine, that kind of thing, so we don't create another problem based on somebody's putting bricks on it or something like that.
I think you're right, John. What I'm proposing, I'm sure Steve is also, is that we take a look at this and make a suggestion for the next meeting, and make a proposal as to what should be there. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, some of the places had pavers up there that probably even with a weight factor on those support posts. Any comments? I mean, there are some issues, like Mark said, that there's some ponding in some areas that didn't used to have ponding, and all of it has to be addressed, but we intend to do so.
How many do we have ponding?
You could say many of them. You know, I mean, the way it is now, when they took off, say pavers or bricks or material like that, there's still some rough spots that have to be ground before everything's done. So, uh, there always have been ponding, always. You know, when some people put a paver on it, they don't necessarily see, not a paver, but a tile or something like that. They don't necessarily ponding because it changes the dynamics. But I can't give you an exact number, but in some ways, there are some pondings on most everything. And they can come out with a brush, with broom and sweep it down.
I had ponding on my concrete sidewalk.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that much, you know, you can have the association fix it, I got a broom. 5 minutes later, it's gone anyways.
The problem with the ponding is if you're not here 24/7, and it sits there, we're getting mold, where the water is collecting. So that's naturally, if you're there, you sweep it off, but if you're not, then that's another issue. But we're gonna get some regulations, so anything we want to do, hold off until you do that at the next meeting.
You can bring it to the committee or to John.
But we need to get some type of
Yeah,
approval.
yeah, I would say
for the
yes.
Project we
Yeah,
wanna, you do.
yeah, I want to put down whatever.
It would never be premature to send what you want, because then we can probably try to dovetail some of the specifications into what your thoughts are, as long as it works out. So we want to be able to be proactive for you versus
Okay.
saying no.
As a board member, I would like to have somebody that say that we can do it now, but what can we do now? In other words, that's why I want to say, you can do this, and see, so.
Well, we'll work on that, but if in the meantime, somebody wanted to do something else, they can bring it to the committee and we can,
Are you gonna put that to the board, Bill, next board meeting? For approval that we can do something over the top of the.
I think, well, it's wise because it's all part of limited common areas. Yes, I mean, the committee makes recommendations to the board.
Well, what I'd like the committee to do is not only make the recommendation that we do it, but how you can do it. And what is acceptable. No bricks would be a prime example, but something that tells them what to do, rather than you can do anything you want, put it back the way it was. See what I mean?
Certifications. Say.
And we also have to document who's responsible for that finish then.
Oh, yeah.
Does that become?
Well, that's part of the existing documents now. Any modifications approved by the board still, number one, have to have approval. Number two, the owner takes responsibility, just like when you put impact windows in or a skylight or anything else.
I just asked, as a listener, how in the world did you choose that horrible color of orange?
there was
Is this
4
what-
colors, 4 colors given to us. And let me tell you, they weren't pretty.
That was the best.
That was the best one that the committee decided on.
It didn't look orange in the sample. I mean, it was like a burnt color.
Yeah,
Like a terracotta.
yeah, it looked a little more dark in the picture.
We are giving owners a right to change the color. They want to walk. But their car, that's our.
You can,
Well, we're using a specific sealant
Right.
that has that color. Other than that, but you can put anything on it. We have had 3 people that like it. Those are not that we.
and several more didn't care. Well, let's see, shall we get,
Electric.
Yeah.
All right, just for this, just for a report, we are continuing to have these problems with the electric service coming from the handhold to the unit. Again, I won't delay anything, but the way that the electric flows is that the FPNL brings the power into a transformer that's usually near the garages or the dumpsters. Then there's a line from the transformer to what they call a handhold in the ground, one for each building, or maybe 2 for each building. And that's their responsibility. But from there to the individual unit, from the handhold to the individual unit is the association's responsibility. And we did some research on why is that? Is that because that's the way the builder had it? And so the developer, which was Neil at the time, had their own contractors put the lines from the handholds to the unit. So that's why we have responsibility. Occasionally, FP&L will replace those when the lines go bad, only if they have an issue in the transformer or the line leading to the handhold. If it's their responsibility and they've caused damage to the line that goes into the unit, they'll fix it, but that's a rare case. Currently, we have two ground straps that needs to be replaced, 138 and 734, and our contractor's ready to go. It's FP&L is strung out, especially because of the storm now. You have to come out and turn the plow, and they have to do certain things. So we're waiting at dates for those two. Any questions? Oh, incidentally, also, since we know this is an ongoing problem, it started to fail 2 or 3 years ago, 1 or 2, but now it seems like it's 2 or 3 every 3 months or so. In the new budget, there's monies both in the operating account and in the reserves to fund this replacement. So for the first time, we're realizing that sooner or later, all of them will have to be replaced.
It's like the sandbox.
Any questions?
John, you said 734. Did you really mean 737?
Yeah,
Or is it?
it's
Something part, is it
Yeah.
something I need to work?
no, if you don't have the line running to you, you don't know. No,
So 734.
yeah, no, I meant 737, yeah.
The homeowner do they lose power? How do they know it?
You'll lose half your power probably.
Dan can tell you.
Yes, I've gone through all that.
Yeah, all of a sudden you get overage powers. You had how many volts going to your house?
It was over 220 coming in
On the 110?
on the 110 line.
Wow.
It burned out the
That's not all.
microwave, it burned out the fans, the
Dan was involved in an issue with they had
transformer. was
yeah, they
bad.
had some transformer bad. What happens normally with you'll just find out that the refrigerator may not be working or one of the 220s may not be working. And what happens really technical for those who are, you lose the ground.
When you lose the ground, you'll lose about half the power in your house.
You'll know right away.
You'll know.
You just call Florida Power, they come out and put a temporary ground strap until we can get around to
I
it.
wasn't asking about the remediation, I was asking about identification of the issue.
Yeah. So you'll know that any of your 220 stuff won't work.
141 wall.
Okay, we're still in the process of waiting for the contractor to go ahead and give us a date. And what that is, for anybody that doesn't know, a major tree grew into one courtyard wall, causing major crackage. And because of it, we had to wait. A portion of the wall has to come down to be rebuilt to get the ground stuff out of it. And so it's been a big project. I'm sorry. Let me get rid of this. Go ahead. That's wait.
May I assume that 313 Springdale's wall is the next to be addressed with this, so that going across the entire bottom?
You can assume that if you want. No, we understand that we've got an additional issue with your wall because of that. But there's the wall right now, until we can get the contractor doing it, you can get out for the other one that we asked for 2 months ago. It's gonna be a bit, but we know about it.
Is that tree related?
Very clearly,
Pardon me?
Is that tree related?
Oh,
yes.
Bang, it landed right on it.
Oh,
Thousands of leaves that.
We really just gonna put some super glue in it for you. Be good? Okay.
Thick paint.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we
Thick paint.
talk it first.
Yes.
Thanks for my.
Welcome, Leslie.
Okay. Carport,
Carport issues, okay, they're mainly, this could be an interesting discussion. Everybody knows that the storm, each storm that we've had over the years impacts the carport ceilings. Part of it's due to construction. Part of it's due to the attachment of how the materials are attached. Part of it is due to the fact of the age of those ceilings. They were originally tacked in with staples that are starting to wear out. I contacted Mullet Aluminum, who's the largest manufacturer of largest producer of contractor in, I guess, the west coast of Florida, because they have over 10,000 carports out. What the cost would be to come back and redo it, and they said, well, you have none of these are up to code, and they will not work on anything that's up to code. Code has changed over the years, and they just like anything else in buildings. Their quote was, because they came up, they took a picture of a satellite picture or Google, whatever, they looked at our facilities. It said that to replace what you have in using your current walls, but they would come in and put a up-to-date roof, up-to-date ceiling, up-to-date posts, would be $7,000 a carport space.
Space,
Space.
space.
And things, yeah,
So that gives us a general idea of what would cost us to bring current things up to code. All right, now there are contractors that will work on the replacement of the ceilings and the tiles and the redoing how they're fixed. But we just wanted to look at the, you know, what it would be if we wanted to do everything up to code.
What is the purpose of that cover? The,
Decorative.
it's pretty much nothing. Some people say that it keeps the air from getting underneath and raising the roof off during a huge storm, but that's,
It won't raise the roof off.
personally, my suggestion is we pull all the stuff down and just leave it.
Yes.
That's what I was
I mean,
thinking.
that's what Spring Lakes did.
Right.
And they had no damage and they didn't have any roof lift off.
Yeah.
It's not gonna cause a roof. The problem of it is when the wind at that velocity goes through there, it creates a high negative
Right.
and it just sucks the ceiling down. It's not gonna raise the roof up. And it's not gonna suck the whole structure down. The structure's too strong for that.
Do we have a number of how many carports we have here?
Yeah, I think it's to be one.
times 4 or 3?
The whole-
No, you were talking spaces, I'm talking about buildings.
No, I'm talking about space.
Oh, I could get it for you. I don't have that, talking about that.
This one only have.
Some have 4, some have 8,
Right.
Yeah. you know, but I think there's 31 carport buildings themselves.
Right, John.
I've gone over and looked at the carports over in that other area where they don't have any ceiling in. And about the only thing we have to worry about are mud wasps and birds and things like that. If we were to put a screening in over the top of the rafters, so to speak, I don't think we'd have that suction. I think we'd keep the environment and things out of there. It's easy to repair if we have to, and we certainly don't have sharp metal edge coming down on top of the car if and when it ever had a problem. And it also eliminates that suction process that's in place. That's but just to have it plain like it is, opens it more for us having to do a lot of maintenance in there in regards to birds, squirrels, and the rest of them.
Well, if you put a screen up there, then your mud things are gonna get up there and then you're not gonna be able to get to them.
Well, you use a high pressure hose, and I think we can go through that screening to eliminate that, but if we don't do anything, I think we'll have some of the problems, but as a building committee, that's the only thing I wanted to bring up, and that's an option. Maybe just leave it like it is and we can get to it another time and any time. But the screening is inexpensive, we can do it with our people, and I don't even think we have to have a building permit.
Let me say this about open carports, okay, and varmint. What is the little golf course over here on Cortez? I mean, on
Pinebrook.
Pinebrook. I managed most of that properties when I had my company. And if you were to go over there to look at their carports that have nothing underneath, they put thousands of CDs and they hang them down. And you go under there and you say, oh my God, where are all these CDs? And they hang them down and the birds don't want to go in there and the bugs don't want to go in there. I don't think we want to do that here, but I'm telling there is a way that people have fought it. Amazing.
Instead of like,
Yeah.
lots of mirrors
Yeah.
coming down.
Yeah. Yeah, but I, you know,
I have like a disc hanging over my pond, my fish. From the herrings, they don't like, any kind of bird does not like anything that reflects.
it shakes.
Yeah, it just goes in the breeze.
Yeah.
Okay,
Are the ceiling joists pressure treated? Or do we have to be concerned with that rotting out?
They may be, Jim takes care of a lot of our, this Jim Cellos, we don't know him, he does a lot of our carport and things work, and how about those, we getting some rotted wood up there now?
There's plenty of rotting. What else?
some water.
It,
But they're
Jim, is it,
45 years old too, so they could have been pressure treated at the time, just.
Jim, are they, is it the joist that's rotting or is it the trim and stuff around the perimeter,
Fascia.
fascia?
You can't tell, some of it is rotted from the, switching the, or the, to D. I had to look at that one. Some of the ceiling had fallen, gone.
Plywood.
But there's a lot of,
The decking.
there's a lot of damage on the perimeters. Yeah. There's a lot of damage on the plywood. Yeah, I mean, I walk those things and sometimes I feel like I'm gonna go through.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's a roof issue. If you take the ceilings out, that's not
The
gonna,
ceiling itself.
it's not gonna
doesn't- it
prevent,
Doesn't do anything, yeah. It's decorative. That is it.
So I would suggest that the ceilings come out, period.
come out and we
But
paint.
they gotta be careful with staples in that area and making sure they get picked up.
Well, you could have a right to make it, obviously, here again, it would have to be a proposal to the board. And, I think we might even want to check to the point where you're changing the construction of, entity. I'd find out if that's impacted for a vote or whether we can do it just as a board vote, or does the unit owners have to get involved? Don't know, but I think we ought to check that because,
So the board would have to.
well, the board for sure,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
maybe the owner too, because we're changing something out there.
Would that include those 7,000? That's for what is there. If you were to build new courts, would that be 7,000 as well?
Probably close. I mean, but they were using the walls, and don't forget that to keep the quote unquote structure the same as what's there, you might have to add the price of putting up something that looks like the walls that the current ones have. So you have to kind of, you can't have like, I don't know what you call a mobile home type of ports versus what you have.
I'd go with
You
the
have to
center
match
one.
everything.
Yes.
So basically,
You
though,
can see the 8,000, maybe 9,000.
8,000, 9,000, right? So, but your basic carport is, a new one would be 7,000.
Be more than that.
More and more now.
It'd be more than that.
If you look at the $7,000 and you have an average of 6 parking spaces per building, that's like $1.3 million. Give or take. And I just guessed at the 6.
Yes, our car was damaged, with Milton and, we submitted that to our insurance company. And they actually agreed to total our car. But I would like to submit the deductible to the association. Is that reasonable?
You can ask for anything you, I'm seriously, no, I'm not being, I mean, absolutely, but that would be a board issue. And you're not the only one that expressed that, so. I think the board would look at it, well, I can't speak to the board, so why would I do that now?
As a building committee, I would hope that you would put that in the proposal to the board rather than letting the board put the proposal together.
Apart what?
The replacement of deductibles or whatever it is that you have.
I don't think it's perfect with you.
Was a board, or I should say, the committee make that recommendation, then put it in a recommendation form.
Why would they even get involved?
The boards,
I mean, the board would get involved, but I don't think the building committee should get involved.
you should put a proposal to the board.
I think the board.
Wouldn't
needs
just
to
put it
do
on the
that.
agenda and discuss it.
Yeah. Workshop.
But you could, as a building committee, be reacting to the owner's request.
Well. You wish.
Otherwise, we discuss it and, choose not to.
I choose not to. Well, that's.
Yeah, they have the option
Yeah.
to discuss it or not discuss it.
Board, I think. Anybody else on the committee?
It's a valid request.
Well, if we can put it on the agenda for the next board meeting, then,
For the workshop.
For the workshop.
yes.
I think that's where it belongs.
Yes, Steve. I just wanted to comment, if the committee thought that those ceilings should go back up, I have recently seen in some of the places I've been where once that aluminum is put up, there have been like furring strips put across in the opposite direction to support that so they don't come down.
Yeah.
Well, that's another possibility of something I've seen recently.
I think we need to. My first thought is let's just get them down to start with, and then we can get some other estimates and get some other things and talk about that on a later date, but I think
I think that's a good
personally, we
idea.
ought to just pull them down, because they half there and half not just looks bad.
When you get another windy storm, you're gonna have more issues.
Yeah,
They're gonna come down.
So do we wish to make a motion?
I'll motion that
But
one.
this will be a recommendation to the board.
Are there any that aren't, that are intact entirely?
No,
No,
No.
John,
no, thanks. So
do we really need to go to the board just to take the ceilings down?
I would think so, because it's.
I mean, that's
potential
just-
Change to a structure.
But we're not saying we're not gonna put anything back up. We're just saying we're gonna take them down, see what we've got. What other damage might be up there that has to be fixed while we're aware of it now.
In my opinion, and then you guys can do what you wish. I mean, in my opinion, your main function is to make recommendations to the board. For everything you do.
Okay.
Committee, I don't think has the power to.
I understand what you want to get done.
But yeah,
It'll be interesting to see what the ramifications are with mud wasps and whatever up there, but.
The other thing I think we have to be we need to watch the weather. I mean, I would be real concerned if we had another storm, and it didn't have to be a hurricane, it could just be a good storm. We could lose more metal, we could also have more cars damaged, which,
In the interim.
Yeah.
Well, I think we put it on the next agenda, it'll only be less than 30 days.
we're still in hurricane season.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, but I just don't think you have the authority to make a major change like that. If you wish to take it,
if
that's up to
one,
you.
if one
but-
comes,
Hmm?
park your car outside of the carport.
Yeah,
Yeah, move my car.
yeah.
I had a piece that
would.
was flapping right by the,
Like 5,000.
right by the side, where I saw it and I had it moved out.
so it is gonna be brought to the board.
Well, let's have the motion.
I agree the motion.
I'll move anything. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Anybody
Anybody against? I'm sorry. We're all good, okay. Put that to the board.
Now, so what's the motion really say?
Remove all the,
All the remaining
soffits.
soffits off of the car.
Are we saying we're gonna leave them out? Or are we just gonna say we're gonna
No, not saying anything about
Okay. remove? Okay. Clear. Jim, you agree with that? You agree with that?
Was my idea.
It has been, but you've been banging on me for 3 minutes on it.
All right. That's the board. Gutters, courtyard fences and repairs and all that.
Okay, well, obviously, this is all part of Milton's damage. And let me add roofs to that. Jim, first off, went and checked the roofs and the first pass, I guess. Looking for any major damage, which you found maybe in 5 spots.
Yeah.
One particularly bad unit and the 4 others, Manson came out and repaired. He then made a secondary go around, clearing all roofs and all gutters and finding additional damage that was buried under the debris. And by his count, I think put it in your packet. I was under the impression it was like 60, 65, but there was over 122 small repairs, little holes and things like this, whether it's penetration by branches and things like that, all of which we did in-house. And he's if you keep going all the way to the back, you'll see the unit numbers and the numbers involved. So his ability to do this was a very good cost saving to the association.
I have a question, Jim. On the major leaks, the major damage, was that caused by debris hitting the roof, or was it just a failure from wind?
Everything was debris,
Debris.
100%, and
nothing like a timber leak.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, no, everything was debris. The biggest damage was 149, where a palm tree and an oak tree fought for rights to the roof. That's
Who won?
you know, that's
Yeah, 467, that's all.
as far as the gutters and the courtyards, Jim's now starting to work on it. There's like this, you've fixed half dozen so far that have been bent over. We also have a proposal coming to do a total replacement. I know that in the 600s, there's about a 40-foot strip laying out there, or was out there, that has to be replaced. So we're working on that, but Jim's currently working on gutters and downspouts and minor repairs that we can do in-house. Fence repairs, we've hired a young man who's a accomplished carpenter. In fact, it's Jeff, our Jeff Jr., Jeff Weaver, Jeff's son, is starting this afternoon to start working on the courtyard rather fences. And the main issue is that we've got plenty of the planks, cementitious boards. The problem is they've back ordered posts, and of course many of the fences need new replacement of the posts. So initially he'll be working on just the slats and what have you. As soon as we get the posts in, we'll get things start put back up. Yes, John.
Will that be the same design that's in there now?
Everything's the same. Yeah, we have to keep it the same. I mean, some people are saying, don't rush, put mine up. I kind of like it without. I have had several calls, but
A question on the fences on the existing design. The 2x2s that are in between the slats, were those treated?
yes, yeah.
The first tree.
They all, okay, because most of them are rotted off at the
Yeah,
bottom.
they rot. Yeah, well, you gotta remember, you got not just the rain, but you have a sprinkler system.
Yep. Keep
And it
it.
doesn't flow constantly, so it's getting water 24/7. So they're gonna rot. Even pressure treatable slides, no.
That's true.
All right,
John, on that fence, that would include the places where the back courtyards have gate issues.
Oh, yeah.
And the gates don't fit anymore because they were hit or something.
We got a list of that. Well, we've got a list of the overt damage. We haven't, I don't have a list, did you send us in have you submitted the work order on that one yet?
No, it's not mine.
It's not yours, no.
But
Yes,
I think one has been submitted for that.
okay,
particular
well, I'll
one.
have to look because,
Okay.
yeah, we've been trying to take care of immediate things while we're cleaning up. Cleanup is still taking forever. But if you call in a bad step, or if you got a handrail that's loose, or safety issues, we're doing that like the same time. But then the other things, I know there are at least 4 gates
Right.
that are demolished.
There's more
that-
gates, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and but not as many as you might think.
Painting, or is it gonna be a 2-step process, or are they gonna paint it right after they finish?
Now, we always paint before we put it in,
Oh, okay.
so that's it. It is a 2-step process. But now we paint it here in back and then we take it out.
y'all finish with that?
Yeah.
Okay, owner's requests.
The first request we have is Mary Ann. She's at 734. And her request is that if you look at the units that abide beside her either way, their front courtyard fence is about what,
10 by 10.
10 by 10. Yours is 10 by 7. And she's requesting the ability to match the units beside her and push out her courtyard fence to the same dimension everybody else has.
And the fence has to be replaced anyway, so. And there's room to do it.
You may want to take a
was gonna
look
say,
at it
yeah.
over there. I have looked at it and I see her point. 734 Oakview.
So you're extending 10 feet away from the building then?
Well, it's 7 now.
Yeah,
Once I was down.
So you bring it just out further.
Yeah,
I think we need to look at it.
we could get your
It's not exactly gonna be 10 feet out, because there's a shrub and plant that we don't need to move. I mean, I just.
9.6.
9.67.
I, you've looked at it, I don't,
Well, I think that the
I
committee
don't-
should review it.
yeah,
Yes,
Sure.
yeah.
And then we'll-
Write
we'll-
that down.
because we're gonna
We'll take a
replace
peek.
it anyway, it depends,
Yeah.
you know, okay? And the reasoning you wanna just put pavers in or something like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna repave the whole thing. It'll look just like my neighbor, Walton Margie's, St. Katie. Jeff.
Doesn't intrude on anything else, I don't have an issue. But we'll look at it and make a determination.
313.
Next,
I have another request, I think Rogers, here.
313.
Rogers, the rear of Rogers unit was, damaged by the major falling of the, same tree that got 149, I guess.
That was the banyan,
Banyan
the banyan
primarily.
came through, yeah.
And he had just reconstructed the rear of his unit. I guess the first question I've been asked to ask, have you gone to your homeowner's insurance for relief on this yet?
No,
No. So you're primarily coming to the committee and or the board for relief?
yes, because it was the common property that caused the damage.
Okay. So I guess what you're asking then is for the committee to submit a claim for you to the insurance company, because we've had these type of issues in the past. And it's up to the board whether to say, okay, fix it, or file a claim against the insurance company, and then you have to do that because you're the claimant. This happened in the Lakeside recently, where there was some issues there, and the owner filed a claim against the liability insurance, the general liability insurance
Of the association.
of the association. So,
probably what you need to do first.
yeah, I think
Sure.
we recommend this. No, I think this again should be
Claims.
should be forwarded to the board for review to make sure that everybody's comfortable with it, and then you know, make the decision there.
Assuming you have a deductible.
I'm sure there would be if I submitted it to my insurance.
But he's not submitting a claim.
I'm not gonna submit a claim.
I suppose when the board said submit a claim, well, I guess you're not submitting a claim to your insurance company. You're submitting it against the
Against
association.
the association, yes.
Right. Now,
Or the association's insurance, either way.
in these, in the same, all right, and I'm just trying to make it easier for you. With car damage.
Right.
When we've called our insurance company,
That's gotta go to car insurance, I understand that.
yeah, and I'm just wondering if they wouldn't have the same posture on this one, say, go to your HOA first. Or your homeowner's insurance first and then come to us. I mean, I don't know, I can call Joe Thompson,
Yeah, I wanna go the other way first.
that's up to you, sure, okay. Right, but are you replacing in kind or are you making it somewhat different?
I gave you a second proposal
Yeah.
to remodel the whole thing.
Yeah.
And bring in the code with the wall and the other windows. You didn't include that in the back.
I thought that, I thought I did, I thought that was the most recent one,
Yeah, it was.
then I didn't put it in.
It's
I thought I
it's not
did.
included in what's stapled together here with the account.
Oh, the 66,900,
The 66,900 is the damages to the existing.
okay, I guess I understood
There's a second document
much
that I left on your desk. It's gonna be like 25,000,
25,000.
which will be my expense.
Okay,
But it's the permission that I'm asking for to build the wall and putting impact windows exactly the same as was done in July back in 754, I think. I have to look it up. But the same thing was done back there, and that was approved by the same company.
That's what
I see
mine's
no
done.
reason
I
why.
have a wall and.
Yeah.
And windows.
Mhm.
Same thing that I already have.
Yeah, build a three block wall, and then the windows on top of it was the impact windows, yeah. The intent, since it was damaged, it's the time to do it the right way. So I'm putting in the request for permission to do it the right way, but I'm also putting in the request to be reimbursed for the damages to the original. It was
This
caused,
6690 is.
that 6690 is the cost to put it back the way it was, which is all I would ask for the association or the association's insurance. I'm not asking the association to buy me a new wall. I'm just saying I want to be reimbursed for what the association's tree did to my wall.
See, apparently I missed something along the line because the only two communications that I had was your original letter saying something's forthcoming, and then this. I must not
Okay.
have seen the other one right.
When I
I
dropped,
apologize.
when I dropped this off on Friday, the new one was with it. They were together when I left them with Mary.
Okay, well, I apologize. Otherwise, they'd have had it all.
Okay. And again, I did it just for the permission
Yeah.
to do it. The stuff's already been ordered. We're not on the calendar yet because the mason is still working on his own house.
Yeah. Well, it's up to the board to, or the committee rather, to go ahead and make a recommendation on this because it's the same as done in kind. Roger, we can get copies if you want. I didn't have it, like I said, I didn't even see it.
If it's the same it's been done,
Yeah.
can we just say,
Yes, you can give him permission.
I move that we approve Roger's request to replace his wall?
Which company is it with? Is it
Great,
Windows,
it's the
Scott?
same company.
Same company. Yeah,
Same
Scott,
company.
Scott's a good guy.
Now,
He did
he
mine.
did this. I'm looking at John Tingley's unit 752.
Yeah.
He did it in July, built the wall, put in the impact windows. It'll be exactly the same as that. A little different size windows, but the basic, exactly the same design that's been done.
That's fine. Well, I know Scott takes out permits, so. That's
Yeah,
the
he
main
does it
thing
all.
you have to have is a copy of
And
the permit.
the contractor that does the block work is subcontractor, yeah. And
And you'll sign
I know
the
Dave well.
you'll sign the paper of authorization of your responsibility for any maintenance there.
yeah, everything that I brought in is all signed.
That's
Okay,
obviously it.
if you don't find it,
Yeah.
I'll bring another copy.
Yeah, I'll find it.
I have no problems with the version, huh?
I never lose anything. I just can't find things.
The new wall, new stuff. Yeah.
Okay, is there a second to, that's,
I'll second, that's his question.
Anybody against it? George? Is he still there?
He's on, but his video's not here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
There he
that's,
is.
unanimous?
there you go. Unanimous.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't know if the gentleman from 271 is here. No, apparently not. Just to report to the board, we do have an issue with the 271. Mr. and Mrs. LeBlanc recently purchased a unit that was formerly owned by a owner that rented the unit for about 8 years. And sometime, as you know, especially an absentee owner that hasn't been here in 8 years, the units have a tendency to decline somewhat with care and maintenance and series of renters. He's coming in, they bought it and they knew there were certain issues. And he is apparently some type of a contractor or has knowledge of that and he's fixing a lot of the stuff itself. He initially complained about problems coming in from the, I guess, behind the gutters, was it, Jim? That's one of the reasons Jim's here. It had been remodeled by somebody in the past. And there seems to be some deficiencies there where moisture intrusion is. But quite frankly, it's part of a unit remodel that takes the responsibility to the current owner of it, and he's challenging that effect, and I thought he might be here today from the discussion we had yesterday. Also, there's some issues in the front wall under the staircase in front of his unit where it seems to be that, and we've fixed this in the past, where some moisture has gotten into from below the dirt level and gotten into the walls and wicked itself up. That is not that big of an issue, I don't think. He's even excavated it. Jim, you put waterproofing down there, and we've seen to solve many of that problems. So I don't see an issue there. There is somewhat of an issue in the little area above the bathroom. Is it the guest or the master?
Massive.
Master, where the unit above had some issues with some grout tile missing, some dripping of faucets behind the wall, and some toilet seals. They seem to have fixed all that. Well, they put a new seal on the toilet.
Right.
They put in new fixtures. There seems to be, at least Mr. Blank's contention is there's mold up in his ceiling from these prior things. He asked that we check out for mold remediation because he felt he wasn't responsible. And so we made an appointment with Expert Water to come in and give us an idea of, is there mold? Is there remediation necessary? Mr. Blank couldn't be here, but Jim brought the Expert Water in, and it turned out that they changed the locks, and so we couldn't get in. So there was a delay. And then finally we got the man in yesterday. And like I said, so Mr. Lorenk is quote unquote saying that we're hiding behind hurricane issues and things like that and not taking care of them. It's been an expanded problem because of some reportings. Yeah, the bottom line, I anticipated him to be here to hear, but our feeling is that I'm awaiting the mold report for the ceiling, but certainly the lanai and the front we can fix, but the lanai is going to be his issue. I just letting you know it's festering and so it's in front of you, John.
We've had this happen before. A new buyer walks in and pays for a unit that is distressed. He gets a good deal, he gets 10,000, 20,000 off. This guy already knows what's wrong with the place when he bought it. Sure. And then he comes to the board for us to fix these things and put it into the perfect condition that he would have paid for if it had been in that particular way. I think we need to take into consideration those things that happened during the process of buying that unit and the distresses that he noticed there and asks the buyer to or seller to take care of. Frankly, I don't want to make up the difference between what it should have been and what it is today because it was that way when he bought it.
However, if they look in the ceiling and there's mold there, I think that is something that comes under our purview.
Absolutely, except if I'm the seller or the buyer, I see, and I see the mold there, I'm gonna say I want $5,000 off because there's mold there, and he probably got it. So in essence, the mold was there, and it was there, and any other time we would take care of it. But in this particular instance, the place has changed, and he has received some type of monies in regards to the defect that was there, but we have not.
With all due respect, Tom, the remediation of mold is not part of the association.
Oh, it is not?
Yeah,
It's not part of the responsibility. And I don't know what his house inspector report. I haven't seen. Some of this may be on there. Maybe the inspector missed it. Who knows? But like you say, John, there is other reasons. And I know there was a deal made on this place.
Absolutely.
So, okay. All right, I will be in contact with, or I'm sure he'll be in contact with me because he has a way of doing that.
All right. Any other owners' requests?
I think that, oh, go ahead.
Yep, permission to approach the bench, Your Honor. So
I represent the people of 501 to 522 Lakeside. I didn't know how many people were gonna be here, so you guys can share. So, the drainage issue. Requesting it, be repaired, replaced, or improved. Something has to be done there.
We talked about this in the board meeting.
Yeah, we did.
Right, and you said come to the, and he
We're
said
gonna come look at it.
right, he said come to the committee meeting. Come to, that's what he told me. That's why I'm here. Take an hour off
The
work.
board has already decided what we're gonna do for the moment, and that is we're gonna look at it. We're gonna have a couple of us, vice president and myself, are gonna, next good rain, we're gonna come and we're gonna look and see how long it takes for it to subside.
Okay,
I mean, that thing sat there for years, where people waded through it, and we did something about it,
right.
and it's working.
It's not working. That's what we're saying. It's not working. It's, you're gonna have to.
What's your timing on it?
You know, we don't stand out there and have a watch on it, but there's over 5 hours of it being taken to drain. You said it was 15 minutes and you said,
Say 15.
yeah, you listened to the recording, it said 15 minutes. So
45 minutes. Listen to it again, but that's all
okay,
right.
all right.
Wow.
All right.
We have put in, and Jim did it, right? Two sets of pumps. One goes to the lake and the was across the street. No, I'm just saying, you know, no, for people who all I'm saying is that there are people here who may not know what discussion is, okay? All right. And it's a ponding effect to the drive area, parking area near that the cluster we're talking.
501 to 520.
Yeah, and we put in a drainage system that takes water across the way into a lower area, and there's a drain that goes back to the lake. Is that right, Jim?
Well, that's the other side.
Yeah, and you put in filters and things to try to keep leaves and things that out of there. And so I don't want, and you know that because you're there, you live it. I just don't want people to think we're not doing anything about it. That's all.
Yeah, that's right. That's why they nominated me, because it's on, you know, right at 522. So, we're saying that is insufficient. So if the pipe needs to be bigger, or the pump needs to be bigger, because to have water sitting there for 5 hours is unacceptable. And people can't get their mail. So let me just say on a side note, this generator issue, we lost electricity during Milton. So we were without power for what, 4 days? So my neighbor, consequently, who has a generator, plugged his into the pump to make it work. So he should, I'm just explaining the generator people that have that issue, if we're not having a generator, they should thank him for draining that. Otherwise that water would have sit there for 4 days.
We didn't have much rain on it.
Hey, we only had 1 inch and 3/4 out of the entire milk.
Okay.
There wasn't a whole lot to deal with.
The water set was this high. Yes, that's the point. The water was this high, it was at least a foot high. And it would have sat there, like I said, for 4 days, had if the person with the generator hooked up his cord, electrical cord. And it took 24 hours to drain.
Yeah, we didn't know that. That's very
Yeah,
good.
that's why I thought about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
should be thanked.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, well, they are going to monitor it. Okay. Dennis, did you have something you want to bring up?
I was just bringing up about the carports. I know that some things have gone through the committee, but the fact that this company that you were talking about, we have a price on what it would be for new carports. And I wondered if this can go forward, and you had talked about a lease. And where is this, you know, I know we have the whole hurricane first, but I'd like to see where we're gonna go with the carport issue. And interesting that this carport, the company said it would be, to build new ones would be $7,000 to $8,000 per unit. Because we do have quite a few people that are very.
Well, yeah, we
and
had.
it's- and it's going, what happens is summertime, just drive the car.
We did have over 100 people express interest, but we knew what the costs were and things of that nature. However, and it's unfortunate it happened in the summertime because most people weren't here, but we got a ruling from the association's attorney that said that it's unless there's a quote unquote 100% vote, you can't sell common ground. In other words, constructing a carport would have to be on common ground. And by law, we can't do it without an affirmative vote. But he said there are places that have developed a leasing program. And this is where it gets pretty intricate. Number one, then your association becomes the contractor, and for whatever the cost would be, you'd have to have a 10-year lease, let's say. I mean, this is a scenario the attorney said to me how it could work. Say the cost is $10,000 a space or 8,000, whatever it's going to be. Your lease would be payable all up front because the association wouldn't want to be able to, can't sell it to you, but they could lease it to you with a dollar for extension. So they could lease it to you for 10 years, say, with $1 extension for the next 10 years.
Right.
So if that's the only way it might be able to work, should the board want to go through that type of intricacy.
And I believe the board did not want to become a rental agency. So basically the board dropped it.
Did this board or the board?
The board,
Or the board,
the board.
the big board.
Just, we don't want to become a rental agency. I mean,
Well, I mean,
it's just a nightmare for paperwork.
I think that, I will look into more of this, because I just went through a whole situation with a theater that I built up in Delaware Township, and it was the township's building. And they closed us down because of a few small issues. In the end, after working through the whole thing, I was right and they were wrong because they tried just to pull a fast one. This doesn't cost them anything. I basically had raised all the money, done everything. But when somebody in the administration just doesn't see eye to eye with me, and they ended up saying, "Oh, you can't do that." I basically had the township facing the township. And they said, you can't do it. So I always think there is a way to do it, and you have to look further into it. And I think that that's what has to happen. I mean, there are a lot of people that have money for 100 people. And, it's like,
But
between
between the
I
lawyers,
think we have to,
and
I think
interpretation.
there should be something else. There's got to be
And then
another.
the other thing you have is if one person in that cluster says, no, I don't want to see any more carports in here, you're dead in the water.
That's what I'm
Because you
saying.
have to have everybody's approval.
But the lease or for the ownership? For building, for building a new carport.
Well, there's a multitude of issues, and not to just to be negative, because I've seen them build even after. I mean, like you say, there in certain ways there are ways, in certain ways there isn't ways. It depends on the documents. But in other words, if you wanted to put say a string of carports, 6 carports along the wall, where you are, say Dennis, in front of the unit, you'd have to get all those people approval, not to say, I don't want a carport in front of my unit. That just has to be,
All of them wanted a car.
Well, that's, so then you got a situation.
That's one.
You know,
We have, multitudes. And when we put out that survey, we had a lot of people. I don't know how many, but there were some that called in and said, absolutely not, you're not putting any carports in front of my place. And that's not my
I'm
views.
sure you wouldn't put one in front of their place, but when you sent out the note, they had no idea what the costs would be. And now that it's under what a lot of them have been selling for, it might even be more at the top.
We've had a few carports that have sold recently. Because there's people who don't even use them.
Sure, but you know, they're selling for $10,000 or $12,000. If you build it for 7, a lot
not-
more.
You can't, let,
I don't think you're gonna build.
you're not gonna
seven.
build a carport for 7 grand. You're probably in that 10 to 12 range. We had a price and how much was it? We actually had somebody that gave us a quote.
He's just heard it, he just said.
No.
That
That was
based on
That was to
steel.
replace the structure on the roof, not the
the
whole
roof,
carport,
just the
To
roof.
bring it up.
just the roof.
No, that was all posts and everything else,
We'll post some.
using
Yeah.
using the cement walls.
Yeah.
That's keeping the walls.
That's keeping the walls that are there.
So if you build a
had
new
to
one,
hold
you've
it
got
together.
But two
2,000.
walls aren't gonna be $5,000.
You've got footings, you've got everything else that has to be done. I mean, it's, those walls aren't just block
But
walls,
it's
they're
not gonna be
poured.
5,000, you've got 10 carports, it's not gonna be $50,000 to build 2 walls.
No,
You're
not
saying it's gonna
50.
be $12,000 a space.
Well, a lot of these, you're not gonna be able to build more than a couple car spaces per carport. So we're shoehorning them in spots.
That was the idea, yeah.
Yeah,
What I think it came up on at least 35, something like that. Easily that could be placed or more.
Well, yeah, that's putting them in front of, or putting in places where they're not. in front of
Yeah,
other people. I mean, we looked at a lot of real estate down here. This is the only place we ever looked at that the carports were not in front of people.
So true.
what was the,
And that's part of the ambiance of it.
what was the price the guy gave us last year?
Seemed like it was around 10.
I think it was around 10.
It was around 10.
5.
And that was to build them exactly
Where they are now.
so they would match. There wouldn't be,
Aren't there regulations as far as the space that emergency vehicles
Yeah.
have to have?
That would have to be taken into account.
All that
And
would
how,
be
how
taken.
would that impact building in front of units? And that,
It would.
it's pretty narrow now. Seeing
Yeah, ours-
vehicles come in.
Springdale H is, we are so close to the code of the fire department.
But yeah, that one's really tight. but
Yeah, that's
I mean,
tight.
there's cars parked there now, it would be much deeper than what cars are.
You know, you would have less of an issue than he would.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's really tight.
I think what we've seen here is about 27 different things that would have to be taken care of before we would even think about doing it, and that's the reason why we had this issue.
Unless if you wanna-
Myself, I'd like to have a
Check into
carport
it.
or another one anyway, and the bottom line is, I'm not sure that we could get through all of these without having something nullify what we'd already found is true. In other words, everybody wants it, but there's no place to put it. Everybody wants it, or it cuts into where the truck would go through. You know, there's so many things involved here. It's a hard one, and I know it's on the committee looking at. Well, you're not one throwing the towel that easy. I can tell you that right now. I mean, I on pounds. Right along with you, you know.
Suggest
You know, it's.
That's what I was thinking.
Which you know, Dennis, would you like to end up in that committee?
They'll say,
Well, Dennis, I know
Sorry.
it will. All right, we're gonna put it to the board to, maybe have an ad hoc committee to look into it further,
Right.
and you can chair that. We'll do that at the next board.
I'll work with you then.
Okay.
I'll go on the agenda for the workshop.
Okay.
Any other owner requests? Very good. Committee comments?
I have a question. And it's regarding John's charging station. How did that get approved? Your charging station, how did that get approved?
Going into John, showing him the plans for it, staying within my parameters and not going onto the common property at all.
You're on the common property because it's outside your front wall. You're outside your courtyard.
It's on my front wall, and it's hooked into my electricity.
Understand that.
Yeah, and it's on my front wall just as a faucet would be for the hose to come out of, and a few other.
You're 100 times the size of the faucet.
Understand, but not as distracting, and or is it taking away from anything that's around it or any of the common properties that's undone?
I disagree. I think it's unsightly. It's huge. It should, if you're gonna do these, they should be inside your courtyard.
I don't know if that's totally true, because we have trees and we have bushes and many other things that are on the outside, and I'm not into the. common
Those aren't your
property.
trees. Those are the
Exactly.
community
I'm
trees.
into that area, I'm on my walls.
If I may guess, that, you know, you brought the issue up to me, and I was thinking that it was discussed on this, by this committee. My review said no, but I can say that Steve and I went out and took a look at it. And I guess you'll have to say that we granted approval from his plans. Whether it's to be challenged, or not, you have every right to do so.
I think that should have come to the board here for the committee.
You're probably right, but I don't know something, you know.
I think what I did too, Gus, is I looked at this, there are many others are out there that have plug-in for their cars, and I went to look at them and see what they had in regards to being less unsightly. I can't say mine is, and to cover up any kind of indication that there was something other than the standard operating procedure, and that's why the metal box around it, of which shows no electrical connections whatsoever, and it's behind the bushes and trees and therefore not unsightly from the parking.
Could we, paint that the same color as the wall? A little less.
Or
Well, I think that needs to be painted along with the conduit. But I think as we move forward, none of these should be outside the courtyard.
I'm not sure how that's going to work because of the length of space from the courtyard to the parking place.
It was something approved at one point. Now
it's
going on
under that's the course.
The wire.
What he's talking about is the actual connection to the
to the
box,
house, to the,
to the interior electric is the box. What would you say about 3 times this? 2
No,
times?
no, it's
About 3 times.
probably,
Wide. It's
it's big.
got the dimensions.
3 by 4, something like that.
About 30 inches by probably 20 by 20.
If I were to, if you look inside that box, more than 50% of it's empty. So the size of the box is a problem. I mean, I did it so that it would look less invasive than otherwise.
And I get that. I appreciate that. But I just, first of all, it shouldn't have happened without the committee approving it. And then we need to think about, this committee needs to come up with a plan. In my opinion, these sort of things need to be inside your courtyard.
I think one of the things that I never could find out, there are many in courtyards, but do you have a plan? As the building committee, is there a plan for connection of the car?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where?
that was approved, that was
That
done
was
last
approved last
season.
year, yes.
And what was it, what did it involve? Cause I could find nothing that said, this is the plan for plug-in car, nothing.
Well, the plan was to make sure the cord wasn't over the sidewalk.
Exactly, we did that part.
And it would plug into the electrical outlet that's inside your courtyard.
I don't see that. It says electrical out. Does not say in the courtyard.
It should.
And it says within the property with that part, I'm not on common property with my plug.
But you are in common property. You are on the outside of the wall.
That's not yours. The wall belongs to the association.
That's right.
Well, I don't know what to do.
Well, at
I'm-
the very least, I think we need to paint it and maybe it'll.
I think it's too late to remove it, but I think as we go forward, we need to come up with, how we're gonna do this.
Being how it's mine, I of course feel all the defensive things, but I think the important part was to find some way that we had a common denominator of what could be done. Because the ones in the courtyard are not efficient because of the fact they're too far away from where the car is, number one. Number two, most generally, there is no room in the courtyard except on the fence to do it, which was again involving itself with the common property. To put it where I was less invasive of all things up to including the nursery stock and everything else.
Less invasive for you, but it's still invading into common property.
Yes,
Also, the appearance,
it's, you've installed something in the common property.
but did it do anything to the common property?
Other than change the appearance of the building.
It's unsightly, I think.
Well, that could be, but so are flags outside, which we're finding is not good.
That's a whole different
And, people's
situation.
different, pots and pan and flower pot, though I'm not doing much more than I would if I had a flower pot sitting out there. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
I don't,
Now,
I think,
I'm telling you, guys, I'm not defending that situation. That's what I saw when I was looking at it as a board member. What can I do to eliminate any of the issues that we're dealing with here? And that's what I tried to do.
I think you would have had place inside your courtyard to have mounted that on the wall.
Problem is, you got 32 feet to go from my courtyard to a parking place. It's more than 32 feet.
Well, as
That's
I
why I
said,
had to go out of that courtyard. Otherwise, I would have been right in the middle of it.
Yeah, down at 125, they have one, and it's right on the inside of his fence.
Yes, but how far away is he from that fence?
I guess you have to park right in front of your condo when,
Even then, it was 34 feet.
he's got a recessed, a little bit more recessed parking in the corner.
Yeah.
So.
I really, I was hoping this would be the blueprint for the future because we got a lot of people are gonna have that problem. And we can't put an extension cord on, we can't do anything but use the flood they have.
you couldn't have parked your car while you're charging it right in front of your condo?
No, oh, well, no, because we can't get to it unless I drive up to the fence,
You got a 32-foot cord,
31 feet to be exact.
31, your unit probably only sets
It's plenty. It's over
10 feet from the sidewalk.
12 feet from the wall. I'm like this and parking place like this, and it doesn't work. I put the car in there. That's where I wanted to put it. The only way that I could do it is where it is. And it's, it did not involve tearing up any wall. Not much else I could do.
Well, I think we can agree to the fact that there was an error made, if not by anybody, but by me, by telling John to go ahead. And we'll just say that it has to be, this issue has to be resolved in the future.
I agree,
I
100%.
think that one thing that we can, my objective when I put mine in was to find something we could use as a standard. There is no standard that has been put up by the building.
Well, there is,
Oh, there
with all
is.
due respect, it is a two-part, really. We agreed that we would channel the hole and the owner would pay $75 to bring the cord under there, so, and put the deco thing on there so nobody gets. They also approved, which has never been used, 2 years ago, a post out right in front of the area, to put the mechanism on. If you recall, we approved that.
Just a plug. It's
Well,
just for
Yeah,
either a 220
yeah,
plug
with the
or
plug, but
or
that-
110 plug.
we kind of moved away from that, but it
Right.
Yeah,
it
because-
was approved at one time.
Yeah.
So, what you have right now is a whole lot less of.
Sure.
You
But
know,
we moved away from the post though.
Yeah.
With it coming under the sidewalk in the channel.
Yeah.
And not put the post out there. So
Right,
in reality, the post was really never approved.
well, it was
And we-
approved,
was
then we.
before.
Before.
I think before that it was.
But then you're right, it's no longer in
Okay.
effect, but I'm just trying to show the evolution. And of course, not defending me giving you approval, there's no doubt that what you have is would be a lot less intrusive than having a post out in front of someplace.
I think if this is a concern, somebody's gonna have to study it because this is the way to do it, the way I've done it, rather than a post or in your courtyard, because we've got a lot less invasive process in place. And the only thing you're saying is that I've caused an eyesight possibility. And frankly, I think it looks more like the utilities that are in our common denominator area here. I don't think it's not a wires hanging out. There's no cords left out when it's not being used. There's no apparatus or plug being shown. All I have is a dark box sitting on the outside. And that looks like I put a plant or a flower planter out.
Do you have a problem if it's just painted, Jack?
No, I don't care. The only reason I got the color I got is because that's the color it came in. If I could have gotten one tan, I would have. And the only other one was gray and it looked worse than the black did.
There was, as I said, there's one, I think it's at 125 in Pinehurst, and he mounted it on the back side of his courtyard fence.
That was my point, and I couldn't.
You can know yours is a much different length. It's interesting though that the tree came down and split his in half.
Oh, gee.
And much to the chagrin of his wife, he hooked it up to his car to see if it would work. And it did work. And the company was so excited, they came out and filmed the fact that this damaged thing was still working and gave him a whole brand new one.
Well, there you go, guy.
John, is that a 220 charger?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's a phase 2 or a level 2.
Right, yes. Exactly. Yeah.
All right, I think we should go ahead and paint it. We'll
We need
Take it
to,
under advisement
take it under advisement.
for what we could put. And you did say theoretically, it could be somewhat smaller.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did that so that I get all the cord out of it. I didn't want anything to be showing except for the
Well,
cord.
stores the
Yeah.
cord
Yeah,
inside that.
and store the cord inside it.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
there's nothing that you see except the box 99% of the time. And even when the cord's out of it, that's all you see.
Get that taken care of, painting and. You're concerned if you want to rebut to the board on it, that's.
no, I just,
Okay.
I wanted to get it out. We can talk about it. I still think we need to come up with some rules, guidelines, how we move forward doing this. Are we gonna allow them to be outside like that? I just, that opens the can up for all kinds.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I think, I totally agree with you guys, but, I think we need to look at what the process is. We don't wanna see cords, we don't wanna see plugs, we don't wanna see anything that will disrupt from our community. And that's what I was looking for. If you can find another one, putting it on the fence is even more intrusive as far as I'm concerned.
No, on the inside of the.
Inside.
It's intrusive to you, but that doesn't bother anybody else.
Well, no,
So that's
we're someplace, but it's still being seen.
not from the street.
You know,
If it's on the backside of your fence, we're not gonna see it from the parking lot. That's what Gus is saying.
it's a plug that held me back from doing that, because that's what I wanted to do.
Okay. Gus, you and I will take a look at some of these corner units and do some measuring and see. If
The corner units are gonna be the challenge because some of them do set pretty far back.
Yeah, mine would be one in particular, but I would never buy an electric car. Might buy a hybrid, but I'll pass on the electric.
John, are you happy with your car?
I love it. It's the car I've ever owned, and I've owned a lot.
It's kind of weird.
The only problem I had was people telling me I shouldn't be plugging it in. Really, guys, thanks.
But if it was all that good, you wouldn't have to plug it in.
That's. And answer the question is, the only problem thing I have is it's taken some getting used to plugging it in once a week, is all I do it. But it's, it is the quietest, it is the best riding, and it is the most efficient car I ever had. And I've had a lot.
Yeah.
Right, we got a piece of, yeah, go around the board, yeah.
Board, you know, you had nothing, oh, that's right, I ended with Gus.
You started it and ended with us, right?
Anything, Pat?
No.
Okay. George, anything?
Did you get permission before he did it?
Yes.
Okay.
Move to close.
Sure.
Owner comments?
Dan, you-
Any comments? Chris.
I was walking around with my dog and I noticed on the side of a wall, unit next to us, 597, there's these orange squares in a stair step pattern. And I'd never seen them before. And I thought aliens. But I guess there were cracks in the wall. Is that right, Jim?
Yeah, that's the track sealant. Yeah, we're waiting for it to cure, and then we'll just paint over it.
I see.
Yeah, she has
But
steps.
it's, you know, with the rain and everything else going on, we just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah. No, I just had never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it's a 5-gallon can of that stuff. It seals up cracks like no tomorrow.
Looks like your shirt though.
Yeah.
But that's,
I should.
you can see why.
Yeah.
Or mine.
It's about the same conversation.
That's a lot of months. Anybody else?
At the board meeting, the generators were talked about, and I thought that was gonna be a topic for this committee today too, and I just have questions,
Okay.
about that. I had thought that sometime last year, I don't know if it came from this committee or from the board, there was an approval that you could install a permanent generator for a whole house generator if it was behind the fence. Did I misunderstand that? Did
I
we
don't remember
approve
that
that
at
at
all.
one time? Where do we stand on the opportunity to do that?
There's no prohibition to what you can put in your courtyard as long as it doesn't go above the fence level and it's not noxious or irritation to your neighbors. So theoretically, yes, you
Yes.
could have a permanent installation there. Yes, there's no reason why you couldn't.
Well, the concern, well, what I heard at the board meeting was the sounds of the numbers overnight. And the purpose of a whole unit generator would to let it run overnight to run the air conditioner, to still be comfortable inside.
There's one at 624 and it's in a soundproof box. It's quiet.
Is it
Is it in the courtyard?
It's in the courtyard, yes.
624? So I should go look at it.
Is there a unit upstairs?
No,
That's the thing you gotta be careful about with the fumes off of those. I mean,
Yeah, I understand that.
the recommendation is that they're
Above
quite a distance from the house.
Yeah,
Are they
have to
using
be
gas?
per code.
propane.
Propane?
no, this, I think he's using gas.
Oh, he's using gas?
Yeah.
I just had to ask the question. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
well, I think the
looking at
sound
it.
issue is really common courtesy. Yes, I mean,
Yeah, but
could
this
we
storm,
make a rule? I suppose we could, but then what are you gonna do when you got a medical condition where they need a,
well, I did the same as
whatever.
you. I had the portable generator for this storm. It ran like from 8 o'clock in the morning and we turned it off at 9 o'clock.
That's what I did. Exactly what I did. I have it in my back courtyard and I know it probably echoed out.
But the purpose of doing something different, more permanent, would be to stay comfortable and allow all of your stuff to run inside round the clock.
That's a big generator.
That would be appropriate. No, they don't have to be that big.
To run
Depends on
everything.
what you're using inside.
If you're running your AC, you're
If you run
probably,
your AC and you turn it off at 10 o'clock at night and turn it back on at 6 in the morning, these places are built, that. They're insulated really.
Yeah, but it doesn't keep cold overnight. The temperature will go up 10 degrees overnight.
it'll go up some. You're talking about 12, 15 kV, maybe even bigger. It's a good sized generator.
So you start the temperature at 66.
There you go.
There you go.
So I would throw it on and.
Yeah.
One,
Just through.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the answers.
Question.
In relationship to this issue, is there it was brought up that an inverter is quieter.
Very much so.
And is there something that we could say that we would encourage people to do that?
I would say yes. And there's the Patriot. I mean, that works on strictly all batteries and can be charged with a solar panel the next day. I would say if somebody's got a medic, maybe we should have something where generators need to go off at 10 o'clock and back on at 6.
I have a
And
battery.
ambiance in there that, if it's a medical condition and they don't choose, we would recommend them to get, a separate generator for night. Because even the inverter, I mean, you can charge it back up the next day off of your other generator.
I have a battery backup for my CPAP machine.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they're made for campers, and I would say mine only lasts about 5 hours, so I need a second one. But other than that, it worked fine.
Well, put that to the board, a recommendation to the board to, if you have generators, they need to go off at 10 and on at 6.
Put it on the agenda for workshop.
If you have a medical condition and need it, we would highly recommend, but we won't force you, something along those lines. And then everybody can just go knock on that person's door and say, you're an idiot, whatever. I should say that, sorry.
And it follows the noise ordinance, so.
Well, there is a
What is it?
7 o'clock noise ordinance.
Don't play past 10 o'clock. I can vouch for that.
Yeah, but everybody leaves at 9:30.
Outside. Outside.
9:30.
I got the place myself, but I
Yeah.
understand.
Anything else?
Is that something that we want to?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the workshop
Okay.
for discussion.
Okay.
You wanna make a motion to it?
Make a motion to put that to the board or
So,
so move? Anybody opposed to that? Everybody agree with that? George, you okay?
Good.
There you go. All right. George says good. Anything else? Well, to adjourn time, Sam? Good. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.